Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I will be painting this portrait using watercolor. So Zen Art sent me this Art Nomad watercolor travel set, and this is what I'll be using in today's painting. Their packaging is pretty nice and sturdy. It's a little bit big for a travel set size compared to, let's say, Winsor Newton Cotman, but it has 24 colors, some brush holders, and a pretty generous palette size for mixing colors. It also came with this sheet that already have the colors names on it for swatching, and I really like that part because then I don't have to make my own. If you get a watercolor set that doesn't include this sheet, I would still highly recommend you make your own sheet and start swatching them down, just so you know how the color react and how they look like on the paper before you actually go into a full painting. For this particular set, the color mix in with the water pretty nicely, and they flow very smoothly on the paper. They are also very transparent, which is a very good sign. Usually higher quality watercolor tend to be more transparent, yet they still retain the vibrancy of the color. For normal use cases, I really like the color palette that this set offers. However, for travel, I feel like they could reduce the number of colors a little bit and give us a smaller size set in general so that it's a little bit easier to carry around. Not that this set is extremely big or something, it's actually pretty decent size. You can pretty much hold it in your hand if you're doing plein air. However, I'm a little bit biased because I'm used to the really small tin box, so this set just feels a little bit bigger to me when doing plein air painting. But on the other hand, you get some more color with this set. As you can see here, you got many different shades of blue and greens, some more shade of red and yellow in general. And the brush holder part that come with the box is pretty handy, so you don't have to bring a separate thing to carry your brushes with you. And after we're done swatching the colors, let's get into the main painting. So I'll be painting the portrait of this beautiful girl. I haven't used watercolor nor do a portrait painting in a very long time, so I'm super excited to do this one. The paper I'm using is also by Zen Art. It's their 100% cotton 300 GSM watercolor paper. So obviously, because it's 100% cotton, it's pretty decent quality. The paper doesn't buckle when I apply a lot of water, and also it helped the color flow nicely on the surface of the paper. I started out by applying a very watery and very light swatch of a mixture between yellow and a little bit of orange to get this first base layer skin tone color. Then after I wait for that to dry, I'm adding a little bit more red to the mixture, and I'm going in and adding this reddish color on the darker part of her face, particularly the area of the eye and the cheek. And then I'm just using a lighter color and kind of smudging this out to blend it in with everything else. And then I'm doing the same thing for the nose. For her lips is a very similar process, which is a slightly more pink and a little bit more red colors compared to the eye and the nose. And while I wait for the lips area to dry, I'm going in and add the shadow part for her neck. And again, using water and a lighter color to kind of smudge everything out and blend it in. After I check that the previous layer has dried completely, I'm going back in with even a slightly darker color to reinforce the shadow part of her eyes, her cheek, and her nose. To use this method, you definitely want to wait for your layer to dry first, because if not, then whatever color you're putting down would just kind of blend in and go out of control with the previous layer. She looks a little bit like a heavily made up Barbie doll at this stage, but don't worry, as we smudge out the color and also as the watercolor dry, it will dry a slightly lighter tone compared to what we put it down. And I'm going through the same process for the neck. It's just that for the neck, I'm mixing the color a little bit more orange, has some burnt sienna to it compared to her face where it's just mostly pink. For her eyes, I'm using a bluish color, which is a pretty nice contrast to her very warm colored skin. Then I'm going back and reinforce a little bit more shadow onto her nose and her lips. Adding a little bit more shadow onto the chin area. After the first layer of her iris has dried, I'm going back in with the blue color to make it slightly darker, and I'm also going back in to paint her eyebrow. I'm not particularly painting any eyebrow here, I'm just blocking in where the shape of the eyebrow will be. Now I'm adding the color to her ear. This area will mostly be covered by her hair, so I'm not going into too much detail here. Now I'm going in with a pretty dark color, pretty much black. For this step, I have to make sure that the previous layer has dried completely, because if not, then this black color just gonna blend in with all the skin tone, which is going to be a mess. And I'm only using this color for the darkest part on her face. After that, I'm mixing a also dark color, but it's not as dark and as black as the previous layer that we add onto her eyes and her nose area. And I'm using this color as kind of like a midway to make the transition between her skin tone color and the really black color of her eyes and her eyebrow, a little bit less abrupt. And just like what we did for her eyes, we're going to do the same thing for the nose and the lips. Now I start to work on her hair and her clothes. And just like her face, her hair will also have multiple layers, where I will go darker and darker as I add more layers onto her hair. And I have to make sure that the previous layer has completely dried before I start applying the next one. Now I'm going back in and adding her eyelashes, and at this stage I'm struggling a little bit because the brush they included in the set doesn't have a very small brush for details, and I'm gonna use, I think this is the size 4 or size 2 round brush, and I just wish that there could be a little bit smaller brush for the details. And finally, I'm going back in with white gouache. You can use pretty much anything that is pretty opaque. Sometimes I use the jelly pen that is white too. And I'm going back in and adding some of the highlight area, some of the kind of like starry looking makeup on her face. And this concludes our painting today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you tried this set out and what you think of it. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.